much.
16. Yes. No, 25 August. 2 pila.
Sex 279 och sånt.
A-positiv. 6-6 till Karla.
Swedish United Nations soldiers in Lebanon. They are there on a voluntary 6-month tour of duty to promote peace and security. Their assignment is exceptionally dangerous, namely clearing landmines. For many years, a country troubled by war, Lebanon is the site of a UN peacekeeping mission involving some 10 nations working together for world peace. Of the UN forces stationed in Lebanon, about 500 soldiers come from Sweden. It all started with Egypt and Gaza back in 1956, when the United Nations for the very first time sent peacekeeping forces to an area of conflict. Among those first to be asked to participate was Sweden. Since that time, many Swedes have served in the United Nations forces. In fact, it has become off-the-record policy for Sweden to respond whenever the United Nations Security Council asks for assistance. The Congo crisis was a difficult assignment for the peacekeeping forces. Time and time again, the United Nations units were forced into battle, costing some 20 Swedish soldiers their lives. The Swedish Air Force was also actively engaged in the Congo crisis. UNEF 2 in Sinai was a hot item on the UN agenda, not least in terms of the climate. The UN mandate, however, paved the way to a peace agreement between Israel and Egypt. The longest-lasting of all UN missions is the one in Cyprus. Besides military personnel, Sweden has also posted a civilian police force to the divided island. There have been many UN missions involving military observers. Here are but a few. This field in Lebanon was once cultivated. Today, it's a dangerous minefield.
We're taking away the cluster bombs that's in the ground here, so the farmers can use the ground for farming again.
You also find a lot of clusters, I have.
Yeah, in this field, in this battalion, we have found about 100. And the battalions before us have found many, so I think it's maybe 1,000-2,000 here.
The mines crop up everywhere. They may be small, but they are deadly.
Yeah, if you're not careful, it can be dangerous here, yeah.
But you trust in your people and in your equipment?
Yeah, we have good equipment and we have well-educated soldiers, so there is no danger.
10!
carefulness, maturity and sound judgment are necessary qualifications for this kind of work. South Lebanon. Situated on the shores of the Mediterranean is Nakora, where most of the Swedish contingent are stationed. Sweden has maintained a battalion within the UNIFIL peacekeeping force since 1986.
Läget är? Det är lugnt. Inget nytt. Allt är som vanligt.
The task of UNIFIL in Lebanon has not been an easy one. The mission entails monitoring the withdrawal of Israeli forces and preserving international law in the area, as well as helping the Lebanese government establish sovereignty in South Lebanon.
Hur känns det att vara här? Bra. Trevligt.
The duties vary greatly. Lieutenant General Wahlgren, for instance, has been force commander and is responsible for the UNIFIL operations.
Sidan! Gevär!
Some have served as guards, while others have been drivers or signalmen. Today, women also serve in the Swedish battalion.
Kommer du ihåg om du har gjort det? Tror du så att jag gjorde det? Ja.
The Swedish Armed Forces International Center. This is where the soldiers receive their training before being posted to the different missions.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing today?
The center not only trains military personnel, it also trains police monitors.
Så de kunde ju inte ta den där vägen. Ja, då var...
Ska jag följande. Reka växelstridsställning ytterligare 50-75 meter åt det hållet. Du rekar växelstridsställning ytterligare 30-40 meter åt det hållet.
Every 12 months, a new Swedish standby battalion is trained for peacekeeping duties around the world. It has become something of a tradition to keep trained UN forces on standby in case of international conflict. Sweden has every intention to continue with this tradition.
Yes, indeed. We are a small neutral country, and we will, of course, continue to do what we can, providing that there is backing from the United Nations, and also that the financial problems could be solved. Then, of course, we shouldn't hide. This is an useful experience also for Sweden. We haven't had war since 1814.
The Nordic countries cooperate in UN peace work, not only on the political level. Sweden trains staff officers, while Finland trains military observers. Sweden also offers training for officers from other countries.
Well, basically, the UN mission is a collective thing for many nations to take part in solving problems. Of course, this is a basic idea, and that's one of the most important reasons. We have also other reasons. Taking part in UN mission means a very good opportunity to train leaders, officers, and units. which all have their position in our own wartime organization in Sweden.
Que aunque no tiene nada de asfalto y el terreno no es muy bueno para aterrizar, sin embargo tiene longitud suficiente y de hecho el ejército hondureño la está empleando sin ninguna...
¿Y las carreteras entre Marcala y Tegucigalpa?
Bueno.
The ONUCA headquarters in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. This was not, however, where the main operation was carried out. Much of the peacekeeping actually took place in Nicaragua.
They were quite reluctant in the beginning to give us full confidence, and they were rather hard to negotiate with. But I had the feeling that they had confidence in our capability to keep quiet around them. I mean, the security zone meant that we gave them protection. It's definitely thanks to the UN presence that it has been possible to demobilize this resistance movement. And I think that in the future there might be more missions like this one.
Oh, actually, we are patrolling to that area because it's very close to the border, and we have some indications of maybe weapon smuggling in the area. And because we're coming here, maybe we calm down the situation a little bit.
And you talk to people here in the village. What do they say?
Yeah, normally, of course, they will not confess that they are smuggling weapon here, but some information we can have. Normally, not about the village, but about their neighbors.
Poquito de agua.
Poquito, sí.
Oh.
But they have rained yesterday, I think.
Ya, que ha llovido el día de ayer. El día de ayer llovió.
In the waters off the coast of Central America, Swedish naval officer Lars Olsson served as a UN observer.
Information we collect, we put into a database in our Naval Verification Center. And when you have a picture from a normal day or a normal week, and you bring more and more information, you have a normal picture. And if something different happens in the Gulf and we have a vessel outside monitoring the thing, we can see the difference.
Lieutenant Colonel Jörgen Setzel. Major Ilmar Meck. First Lieutenant Ulf Normark.
Kuwait, a few months after the Gulf crisis. The Iraqi occupation had taken a heavy toll of Kuwait. This was more than apparent when the Blue Berets arrived. One of the UN observers on duty in Kuwait was Major Ilmar Meck, an officer in the reserve and teacher by profession.
We make mostly 2 patrols a day, one before noon, about 2 hours time, and one afternoon, a little shorter. And then we even have a night patrol every night.
But what are you looking for?
We are looking for any movements in the area here. There shouldn't be any soldiers or any weapons in the area, so if we can find it, we have to report it.
You also have a lot of UN experience. What is so special with UN service in common?
I think there are many things together. You see a lot of the world before. You have never been allowed to see before. You met fellows, very good fellows. And I think you can do something for the peace too. I think it's maybe the main problem. In Sweden it's very difficult to do, but when you're out here you feel you do something really.
Go into the sheep market, they just encircle like this and go down to the sheep market.
Today it's a little hazy.
Today it's a little hazy. You can't really see very much.
No.
All told, about 30 Swedish soldiers served with UNICOM, not only as observers and staff officers, but also as logistics personnel. Important diplomatic work is handled by the Swedish Permanent Mission to the United Nations in New York, which acts as a liaison between the Swedish government and the different offices of the United Nations headquarters.
Okay, now, sen jag ville nämna också, jag såg att det är ett ganska...
I'm, let's say, the link between the Swedish authorities and the Secretary General and his staff when it comes to Swedish participation in peacekeeping. And in that capacity, I am dealing in practice with all the support business for our soldiers, civilian police, and people abroad.
Over the years, Swedish participation in high-level diplomacy for world peace has gained considerable respect. As in the case of United Nations Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld, who played an important role in the early days of peacekeeping. He was killed in the Congo while serving the cause of peace. Jerusalem, a political and religious melting pot. Here too, you will find Swedish United Nations personnel at work. Together with several other nations, they carry on the peace efforts initiated by Folke Bernadotte in 1948.
The situation under OGG area was described as calm, with a total of 16 violations. One of the violations was protested. It was concerning an unarmed SAF soldier on the 7th of September, who was first observed in a civilian bus.
We have two civilian police forces, one from Sweden, of course, and another one from Australia, and they divide the island up basically into the two, and the one works at one end and the one works at the other, although they cooperate a lot together when there's a need to do that. But they carry out this humanitarian role in providing assistance to the few remaining Greek Cypriots that live in the north and the Turkish Cypriots that live in the south. There are still families that are divided, in fact, by the buffer zone. They assist in getting the communities to exchanges, to meet one another and so on. Policemen are very good at this. They do this back home. They fill a very strong need here in Umpasip. I'm very happy to have them here.
Du vet, Bosse Hemp och jag skulle alltså upp till australiensarna då. De har den här, ja, det är någon slags race man tittar på, så kan man satsa pengar om man vill.
Well, it's the only mixed village in the buffer zone. It's mixed between the two parts, the Greek Cypriots and the Turk Cypriots.
And it's a very sensitive area, they have told me.
It's a sensitive area indeed, yes. Small problems can get big very easily, and New York, UN headquarters and headquarters here in Nicosia, they have a special look at Pyla, and that's why I'm stationed here too.
Yes. And you take my letters?
Här Anders, här har du ett ganska fint mönster för mönster framträder ganska bra i det, så jag tycker vi ska fota av det här.
Det ska ni göra.
Whenever the Greek and Turkish Cypriot police don't see eye to eye, the Swedish police are called in to investigate the crime. Former Yugoslavia, a nation shattered by internal conflicts. When UN involvement was on the agenda, the Swedish police monitors were asked to join the mission.
Yeah. I want to know if she had heard something from her relatives in Novska.
When the fighting broke out, this woman suddenly found herself on the opposite side of the border from her son and family. She lost all contact with them. The police monitors were able to help her search for her family.
Make another contact with civilian affairs.
Yeah.
Of course, we will try to find them.
If you're talking about civilian police monitors, if you're talking about electoral officials and election observers, then they need to be able to communicate, or at least understand, the language of the country in question. And you have a very high range of linguistic skills in Sweden, and therefore you're going to find that we will be turning to you disproportionately much for people like police observers, electoral workers, and so on.
There are a number of reasons why Swedish United Nations personnel have played such a prominent part in restoring and maintaining world peace.
So from the very beginning there has been an important Swedish role in the conceptualization of this technique of peacekeeping and in the development of it. So that's the first reason, a historical reason. The second reason is that Sweden is par excellence a neutral country. It's not a very large country, and therefore it has been natural for the parties to the conflicts in which peacekeeping operations are deployed to accept Sweden. And thirdly is the excellence of your armed forces, the very high quality of personnel, whether military observers or formed units, infantry or logistics.
Well, we have different patrols every day that we go along the Serbian border. And today we're going from the OP Sierra 53 Alpha eastwards about 4 or 5 kilometers to a village called Petrovici. As far as this, we haven't seen anything at all. Some Serbian patrols, that's all.
Quite a quiet area.
A very, very quiet area. Not a single shot so far.
UNPRO-4 is the United Nations mission in former Yugoslavia. Many Swedish soldiers served in Sarajevo, bringing home memories hard to forget.
It was a very tough time, I think. The duty was almost the same as here. We guard and observe and report. But the conditions that we're working under are very, very different. I mean, in Sarajevo there were mortar fire and artillery, tank, machine gun every day. It was an experience that I'm grateful that I got a chance to have, but I wouldn't do it again. But I wouldn't have missed it either.
Being a peacekeeper is a demanding job which requires very special qualities, regardless of where the mission is located.
First of all, I think I want to mention you must be well prepared. You must know the culture, the traditions, the rules in the area where you're going to operate. It's very important to know that. So you understand, for example, in the Middle East, you must understand Islam and how people are trained here on their behaviors.
It's very, very important that you know how your counterparts think, and what is really occupying their minds, and to have some tolerance and understand the difficulties. So knowledge is very, very important, and tolerance and patience.
Well, there is one important thing we must learn the soldier, and that is that he will not meet an enemy. in the peacekeeping mission, because there is no enemy. The peacekeeping mission is in the area to create a situation where the parties involved in the conflict can negotiate and come to an understanding of a peaceful solution.
You must have a huge amount of patience. Patience is very, very important. You must have the possibility and the ability also to negotiate.